It's taken a while, but it's finally here. Come with us as we explore Borneo in November 2022. Our first stop was Kota Kinabalu, the capital city of Sabah in Borneo. Now, because COVID was still very fresh, the city had fallen into a little bit of disrepair, so it wasn't as nice as I imagine it could have been pre-COVID.
Gotta check the stability of every step before we go up, because some are a bit dodgy.
Being November, it was super hot, and the only person we saw on this trip was another Australian here for another tour and this police officer who was keeping an eye on the riots downstairs.
What do you reckon? What's wrong with them?
The Sabah Museum was full of so much interesting information about the Borneo history and the local region, including information about the headhunters who severed people's heads and then kept them as trophies or for ritualistic purposes. Fair warning though, in the headhunters exhibition, there are lines and lines of skulls which are both really awesome and really super creepy.
Sketchiest suspension bridge ever.
After absolutely legging it around Kota Kinabalu for the day, we decided to go up for sunset drinks at the newly opened Hyatt Centric, which is right in the main part of town. The views from the rooftop were phenomenal, the drinks were amazing, and of course the staff was super hospitable. The next day we started our real tour, our journey across to Sandakan, which started with this lookout of Mount Kinabalu. Mount Kinabalu is the tallest mountain in Malaysia, and it's usually very cloudy, but that is the spirits protecting the mountain. This here is the Kundasung War Memorial, which pays tribute to the Australian and British prisoners of war who died as part of the Sandakan death marches in World War II. There are 4 gardens to represent the different nationalities, and it's a very pretty and somber place. The Kinabatangan River is the longest river in the Sabah region of Borneo and is home to so many different species of wildlife, and that's why we're here at Billet Adventure Lodge to go on these river cruises to try and spot some wildlife.
Crocodile, just there.
We had a number of river cruises to spot some animals, and spot animals we did. So many birds, different types of monkeys, crocs, absolute stunning sunsets as well. Between cruises, we had the opportunity to do what they call a batik painting. Now, really, they just gave us some paint and said, go for it. So we did, and there were some quite creative red monkeys that got painted. On our cruises, we saw a lot of proboscis monkeys, pigtail macaques, and long-tailed macaques. Now, some of these macaques were actually playing chicken with a crocodile on the side of the river, walking past the sleeping croc and just hoping that it didn't wake up, I guess. Our guide took us down to this little pond to show us this weed that's starting to really cover the river systems and causing the ecosystems within it to fail. As I mentioned, we saw some pigtail macaques, which are quite an unruly monkey, and at one point I thought some of them were going to jump down into our boat, and I was the closest to the bank, and so I was really starting to freak out a little bit. Here are some photos I took on my Canon DSLR with the 200mm lens. I really do recommend having a good lens for this. Palm oil is one of the top contributors to the Borneo economy, and hidden within one palm oil plantation is this Labuk Bay proboscis monkey sanctuary. Now, it is a privately owned sanctuary, so our guide isn't too happy that someone is profiting off these monkeys and they can't get any further because their habitat's not there. But it is such a great opportunity to see these monkeys up close and personal. And here we go, the main reason my mum wanted to come on this trip in the first place, to see the orangutans. The Sepalok Orangutan Rehabilitation Centre is home to a number of injured, orphaned, or rescued orangutans. However, because of the openness of the sanctuary, once an orangutan is rehabilitated, it can go off into the forest to find its own food. While the orangutans are being rehabilitated, they can come to this feeding platform twice a day for food. Now, if you don't see an orangutan there, it's actually a good sign because it means they've worked out how to find food in the wild for themselves. Within the sanctuary, there's also this nursery where you can watch the younger orangutans do their thing. But there was also a big dominant male that came in to eat, which was so awesome to watch as well. One crazy fact I learned is that if a male wins a fight, his cheeks get bigger, but if he loses, they get smaller. A camera pass for anything other than a phone camera is about 10 ringgit or 3 Australian dollars, and it's absolutely worth it to get some extra shots. Now, we weren't going to go back for the afternoon feeding, but we did, and honestly, so glad we did as well. Back during COVID, you had to wear a mask to go to the sanctuary because orangutans share 96% of human DNA and so are very susceptible to human diseases. Now, keep an eye out for this little juvenile guy here because he goes crazy very shortly. It's not super clear in this video because I don't like to zoom the GoPro, but this orangutan here had a little baby hanging off her and actually was trying to teach the baby how to climb at one point, and it was the most adorable thing we've ever seen. Alright, the little orangutan on the right is the one I pointed out previously, and you're about to see what I meant when I said he went a bit crazy. He climbed up this tree, started hissing at everybody and throwing branches at us. But the story gets funnier because you can see in the background a bigger orangutan climbing up the tree. Now he is actually about to discipline this little monkey, grab him, pull him down the tree, and then hold his arms side by side. It's like a father telling a kid to stop being silly. Next up, we stopped at Sabah Tea, where we did a factory tour of the tea plantation and had awesome views out over the fields and Mount Kinabalu.
These are much bigger fish than I've ever done before.
The itinerary set a relaxing fish bath, so we were envisioning small fish like the ones in Thailand and Bali. But no, these massive carp were there waiting for us.
Nope. Relaxing fish spa, they said. Guy's standing over here piercing himself laughing because it's just a disaster.
No, you can see it from here. They just.
We were meant to stay at Sabah Tea, but it was booked, so we ended up at this random hotel on the hill called Jabez Inn or something. Anyway, the hotel itself was pretty festy, to the point where there were bed bugs in someone's bed and someone had a toilet that wouldn't flush. But the views of Mount Kinabalu were absolutely to die for, so that helped round it out a little bit more. On the way back through to Kota Kinabalu, we stopped at Kinabalu Park to have a walk through the forest and a little explore. Our last little adventure for the trip was a day trip over to some islands. So the water was absolutely stunning, and the first island we went to, absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you've seen some of my previous videos, you know I'm not a snorkeler, I'm not really a fish person, but when you go on trips like this, you've got to do it for a little bit. And it's all fun and games until one comes straight at your face. We left Sapi Island slightly early because we were a bit disturbed by the monkey that was digging into other people's bags, and went over to Sandakan Island, which had a lot more people, so was not quite as tranquil. Seeing the orangutans in Borneo was never a trip that I would have thought of. So thank you, Mum, for making the suggestion because it was such an incredible trip.